Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Chris Dost. Welcome back to my channel, Biblical Languages and Literature. This is the 14th lesson in my series on Biblical Aramaic. Before we get started, please be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Click the bell to be notified when I publish future lessons in this series. And if you would, please be sure to share this on social media. I would appreciate your help in getting the word out about this channel. All right, let's get started. All right, so let's start by reviewing the Aramaic alphabet. The Aramaic alphabet, the script anyway, is really the same as Hebrew and Phoenician. So those who maybe speak modern Aramaic or Assyrian or who speak Syriac, there are different scripts that are used for Aramaic, but Aramaic is a 3,000-year-old language which has used multiple scripts over the course of its history. And so the script that we use here is the one that's found in every printed edition of the Hebrew Bible. It's the one that was basically used in the Dead Sea Scrolls for all the Aramaic texts that we have there, and so on and so forth. All right, the first letter is Aleph. Aleph. And Aleph is, for all intents and purposes, a silent letter. Historically, this is not true, but we use the modern Israeli accent today in scholarship. And so according to that pronunciation tradition, it is a silent letter. Then there's the letter Bet. Bet, if it has a dagesh, it makes a B sound. If it does not have a dagesh, it's a V sound. If you don't know what a dagesh is, go back and see my previous videos. Before looking at this lesson, you really want to go through the first 13 to make sure you understand some of the things I've talked about in there. So we've got Aleph, Bet, Gimel, which makes a G sound. G. And that's followed by Dalet, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, which makes a D sound like in door. That's followed by He, which when functioning as a consonant makes an H sound like in happy. But a lot of times, as we've said before, He serves as a vowel letter. It's not pronounced as a consonant, it just indicates that there's an A or sometimes an O vowel. And this tradition dates back to the time before when there were vowel signs in printed Aramaic texts. As in Hebrew, certain consonants were used sometimes as vowel indicators, and He is one of them. We see that Aleph is actually one of them too in Aramaic, in the mark of determination, or what some people might call the definite article. That's followed by Vav, which according to the modern pronunciation system is a V. Historically, it was a W. And for that reason, in ancient times, the Vav was often used to mark O and U vowels. O and U vowels. So we have to be very careful when reading texts to see if Vav is functioning as a consonant or a vowel. And in future videos, we'll get into the rules of that. Then there's Zion, Zion, which makes a Z sound. That's followed by Chet. Notice the difference between He and Chet. Chet has a rough, very fricative sound, not to be confused with He, which is an open letter. That's followed by Tet, which is one of the T letters in Aramaic. Which is followed by Yud, which as a consonant makes a Y sound, Y, like in yellow. But this also, like He and Vav, functions at times as a vowel letter. It indicates that there's a vowel making the E or A sound. We call those I-type and E-type vowels. Then there's Kaf, and Kaf, when it has the dagesh, makes a hard K sound like in kick. When it lacks the dagesh, it makes a ch sound, just like in the letter chet. Remember chet? So these two will make the same sound. And Kaf was the first letter that we looked at that has a word final form. So when Kaf comes at the end of a word, like in the word melech for king, the form of the letter is different than if it appears at the beginning or in the middle of the word. When it is word final, it makes a ch sound as well, like the chet. Then there's lamed, which makes an L sound, like in the word lovely. And the letter for today is mem. And the form to the right is how mem will appear when it is word initial or word medial. That is to say, if it comes at the beginning of the word or in the middle of the word. And the form to the left is the word final position. So this, like Kaf, has two different forms. The one on the right is word initial and word medial, whereas the one on the left is word final. Now, mem makes an M sound, like in the word mother, and we see this in the Aramaic word memar, memar, which means word or command. Hebrew students, you might recognize that if you take away the mem there, this looks like the word amar, which means he said in Hebrew. Memar. We see the word final form of the letter in shlam, shlam, which means welfare or health, related to the Hebrew word shalom, which means welfare or peace or hello sometimes. And just as a side note, when we have the S with the wedge over it, it's going to make an SH sound. That's why we pronounce it shlam. Up to this point, I've been using SH to represent this sound, but typically in the transliteration of Hebrew and Aramaic and other Semitic languages, this is the grapheme that's going to be used. This is the symbol that's going to be used. And so this word is shlam, welfare or health. All right, let's look at some other words with mem. The word for 100, 100. Me'ah, me'ah, 100, me'ah. And you know all of those consonants. Mem, aleph, he. Mem, aleph, he, me'ah. The word for balance, balance. Mozanya, mozanya. Mozanya. Vessels, vessels. Manaya, manaya. Vessels. And I should note that these previous two forms, balance, moznaya, it ends with aleph, and vessels, which ends with aleph here, are both in a determined form. That is the aleph of determination, the aleph of determination. Okay, so you could equally translate mozanya as the balance, but remember the aleph of determination sometimes functions as a definite article or sometimes needs to be translated into English with a definite article, but sometimes not. So it's correct to say either balance or the balance, and it's only context that will indicate which is correct in any given instance. And the same thing is true with manaya. It can mean vessels or the vessels. And again, only context can tell you. So vessels or the vessels. But the aleph is an aleph of determination. The final aleph is an aleph of determination. Then there's the word for scroll. Scroll. This one you may have heard before. Megillah, Megillah, Megillah. And we know all those letters, mem, gimel, lamed, he, mem, gimel, lamed, he. And notice that the he here is functioning as a vowel indicator, as a vowel marker. It's not a consonant, so you won't pronounce Megillah. It's just going to be Megillah. And then there's the word altar. Altar. Madbecha. 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 And again, we know all these letters too. This is encouraging that so many of the words that we're seeing now, we know all of the letters in these words. Mem, Dalet, Bet, Chet, He, Madbecha. And again, the He is functioning as a vowel indicator, so we're not going to pronounce it. I should mention too that depending on what books you're reading, sometimes when people translate Hebrew and Aramaic into Latin script, like we're doing here, they will include an H even when it's functioning as a vowel indicator. And so you might see Madbehah, right? But I've chosen not to do that here. Sometimes I do it just because that's the convention in a lot of books, but I'm trying to weed that out of our videos because I don't want you to think that the He is a consonant in this case. Review words. All right, let's go back and look at some of our previous words, just for practice. Do you remember the word for heart? Heart. I'm going to leave a little space in here because I want to give you some time to think. After I give you the English word each time, I want you to think about it and see if you can come up with the Aramaic answer on your own. All right, heart is levav. Levav. Lamed beit beit. Levav. Lamed beit beit. Heart. Then we've got bread or meal. Bread or meal. Can you think of what word that is in Aramaic? Bread or meal. Lechem. 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 Lamed, chet, and then there's the mem sofit, or the final mem. Lechem. Bread or meal. Night. Night. Lele. Lamed yud, lamed yud. Lele. Night. Language. Language. Lishan. Lishan. Language. Lishan. Lashon in Hebrew. Lashon means tongue or language. But in Aramaic, lishan. To, for, or in order to. To, for, or in order to. L. 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 And the reason for the hyphen is that when lamed is used in this way, it attaches to the beginning of the word. It's not an independent word in the script. We would say it's a prepositional prefix, a prepositional prefix. Man or mankind, man or mankind. Anash, 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 man or mankind. Father, father. Av, av, aleph, beit. Notice that the beit doesn't have the dagesh, and therefore it makes a V sound, av. Mountain, mountain. Tur, tur, tur. Mountain. Yet or but, yet or but. Take a minute, see if you can think of that one. Bram. Bram. Notice the mem sofit, or the final mem. Bram. Yet or but. The field. The field. Bara. bara, the field. Innocence, innocence, innocence. Zachu, zachu. Zayin, Kaf, Vav, zachu. Zayin, Kaf, Vav, zachu. Cyrus, Cyrus, the Persian or Achaemenid king. Cyrus, also labeled as a Messiah in the Hebrew Bible. Koresh, Koresh, Koresh. King, king. Melech, melech, melech. A lot of times in the book of Daniel, you'll see the determined form malka, malka, which means, it can mean the king, but a lot of times it means O king when we're directly addressing the king. Malka, O king. Fingernail, fingernail. Tfar, tfar. Friend or companion in the masculine singular, friend or companion. Chavar, chavar. Friend or companion, chavar. His friends in the masculine plural, his friends. Chavroi, chavroi, chavroi. Good, masculine singular, good. Tav, tav, tav. Decree, decree. To aim, to aim, to aim, decree. Hurtful act or crime, hurtful act or crime. Chavula, chavula, hurtful act or crime, and we know all these letters. Chet, bet, vav, lamed, he. Chavula, chet, bet, vav, lamed, he. Yeah, notice here, just point out, when I put this slide together, I did put the hey in at the end of it, but this is a case where the hey is functioning as a vowel letter as well. And, you could argue it shouldn't be in the script there. But again, two different conventions that are used in scholarship. Lord or owner. Be'el, be'el. Lord or owner. Be'el. His body, his body. Gishme, 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 his body. Stone, stone. Evan, Evan. One, in the masculine singular, one. Chad, chad, chet dalet, one. This is a form of the same word that we see in the Shema, by the way. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Flesh, flesh. B'sar, b'sar, b'sar. Pit or den, pit or den. Gove, gove, gove. He reveals, he reveals. Gale, Gale, Gale. He reveals. He made known. He made known. Hoda, Hoda, Hey Vav Dalet Ayin, Hoda. He made known. Bear, bear. Dove, dove, Dalet Bet, dove. Judgment, judgment. Dean, dean, judgment. Dean. This, this. Dana, dana, dana. There's other forms of the word this. This is just the only one I put in here for now. Thus, thus, thus. Kidna, kidna, thus, kidna. Who or which, who or which. D, D, Dalet Yud, D, who or which. They made, they made, they made. Avadu, avadu, they made. Avadu. Letter, letter. Igra, igra, letter. Then, then. Adayan, adayan, adayan. Arm, arm, arm. Edra, edra, arm. There is, there are. There is, there are. Itai, itai. There is, there are. Itai. I. Ana, 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 I. God, God, God. Allah, Allah, Allah. Man, Gvar, Gvar, Gvar. Back, back, back. Gav, Gav. Pride, pride. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell to be notified when I publish additional lessons. And if you would, just go ahead and share this on social media so that other people can find out about the channel as well. Thanks so much. See you next time.